Hello and welcome to episode 36 of Howard's Horse Handicapping. This is your host, Howard Kravitz. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. We have a lot of big news to talk about. A lot of big news, not only in the horse racing world, but for me personally. We're going to get to that in just a minute because we've got some big, exciting changes. They're going to happen to this show. I cannot wait to tell you. First, please make sure if you're listening live, or of course, if you're listening on a replay, right there, it's on the right side of the screen. Hit it. I need you to please hit that subscribe button. And after you hit that red subscribe button, please make sure you hit the notification bell. That'll tell you when new content is coming up on my YouTube channel. Also, please make sure you pound that like button underneath the video player. And also, if you watch this as a replay, I'd love to hear your comments. I've had great comments, and if you comment below the video player, I almost guarantee that I will comment back. I do a very good job of listening to my fans and people who watch the show. I think it's very important that people are responsible and that I respond to you so that we can have great conversation. If you are listening live, C Money, I know you're there already. C Money, my man, first one in. If you are live, make sure on the right side of the screen you start typing in comments into the chat. I try as much as I can to comment on your comments on the chat. Of course, that will continue to have us to have great conversation. Thank you very much for joining me tonight. So our main focus tonight is going to be Belmont. They have a fantastic card this Saturday. By the way, how can you get in touch with me also? You can see down below there on the scroll, you'll see there. You can email me, hkravitzhorse@gmail.com. You'll see it on the scroll, hkravitzhorse@gmail.com. I really would appreciate it. If you want to give me a little more of a private comment, you can send it to me to my email. Wonderful things you like about the show, some things you'd like to see for improvements, or just anything in general, questions about horse racing, please email me. Also, follow me on Twitter. I really think I'm a good follow. A lot of things come up on Twitter for me. @HKravitz is my Twitter handle. Please make sure you follow me on Twitter. I've had a lot of positive feedback, and I didn't even really make a public announcement about this, but I did send out, per the request of some people, a video on my YouTube channel about the ABC method for horizontal betting. I already have over 150 views on there and growing. So if you didn't know about that, please check out my YouTube channel. I sent out a pretty short, about a half an hour video, more on the ABC horizontal method and DRF ticket maker that I use for my bets. And also, if you go to the bottom, I have my YouTube channels very well organized. If you go to the bottom of the YouTube channel, I now have a separate category that says betting strategies. I have a video I put out actually not too long after I started the channel in late January about how I handicap a horse race. I go through the PPs and replays and make markings on the past performances and sort of show you the process I go through in detail of how I handicap a horse race. And right next to it right now is the video I recently put out earlier this week about how to use the ABC method developed by Steve Christ for horizontal betting. I see Jim is already here on the show. Jim said he had a tough Thursday today at Belmont. Jim, we're going to see if we're going to make your life better on Saturday. So before I start, I have a few very exciting announcements, and almost no one knows about this. So hold on to your hats, folks, because I have three things that I want to say. First of all, the HHH podcast, this YouTube channel, etc., and content that I'm putting out is about to go through a major upgrade. I can't give you details. All I can tell you is I'm hoping, if things work out correctly with technology, the next live stream next Thursday is going to look completely, and I mean completely, different than what you see now. What you see now, I've pretty much done on my own. I am not a tech expert by any means. I wanted to upgrade it and make it look a lot more professional. I want to publicly thank two people, James Cacciatore, who works with me at Round Lake High School in Round Lake, Illinois, who's in the tech department there. He's been helping out a little bit. And also producer Craig, Who's producer Craig? He is the one that does most of the production work for the In the Money media podcast. He works behind the scenes. He was very generous to give up his time through email conversations. So thank you very much, producer Craig from In the Money Media, who's also helped me. I have some new software that I'm going to be using, hopefully, next Thursday, a brand new look. I'm going to have guests on the show with like double boxes. Anyway, it's going to look like your, newscasts or other podcasts. I cannot wait. I'm crossing my fingers. Hopefully it's going to start working next Thursday's show. I can't wait to show you what the HH podcast is going to look like. I'm very excited about that. Now, to kick off the new looking HHH podcast next Thursday, this is not set in stone, but it's in the works. My people are talking to his people. Matt Bernier is going to be making my first live guest appearance. That's right, Matt Bernier from NBC Sports, In the Money Media, Racing Picks. He's got his fingers in a lot of pots. Fantastic guy. I figured if I'm going to have my first live guest on the show, I need to reciprocate and return the favor because I had the pleasure of being on Matt's show 3 times, and the first time in August of last year, I made I suppose you can say my national debut, where people started to know my name and maybe recognize my face if they see me around town. But anyway, Matt Bernier scheduled tentatively to be on the live stream, not in the chat, folks. He will be my guest right next to me, per se, picture in picture, and we're going to chop it up, talk about horse racing, talk about him a little bit. I have some very exciting things planned. So next Thursday, 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern, the plan right now, hopefully we will have Matt Bernier live. Cannot wait for it. I'm very excited about that. Now, the third thing I want to mention, speaking of In the Money Media, I am now going to be an employee of In the Money Media Podcast starting May 18th, which is on a Tuesday. Let me double check that time. Yes, starting May 18th, I will be writing for the In the Money Media Podcast. I will be their national correspondent covering Canterbury Park. Canterbury Park is a great track. It's in Shakopee, Minnesota. It's just right outside of Minneapolis. It's a very good sort of mid-scale track if you're not familiar with Canterbury. It's similar to Indiana Grand, Prairie Meadows, right in that area. They have over $200,000 of daily purses. And there's 2 great things that I love about Canterbury. They race Sunday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, they actually have a post time that starts at 5 o'clock. So if you're like me and you work during the week, I'm assuming most of you work during the week, and it's hard for you to bet races during the week, Canterbury's got a great program. They've got dirt and grass, and their racing is Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday during the week, but it doesn't start till 5 o'clock. Not only that, and it's a really great family friendly track, they have at Canterbury Park the lowest takeout for their pick 5 in the country. They only have a 10%. It's only 10% takeout in their daily pick 5. Last year they averaged, I believe, close to $80,000-$90,000 in their pick 5, which for a mid-level track during the week is fantastic. I'm hoping to make that handle grow as well. So if you go to the In the Money Media blog, you go to their website, they have a blog. I'm sure some of you are familiar with it. And they have selections and analysis from different tracks throughout the country. And you will see me, Howard Kravitz, doing the selections and the analysis for In the Money Media Podcast for Canterbury Park. I cannot wait. That's going to be starting in about a week and a half. About 2.5 weeks. I also hope to, actually it is a week and a half. I apologize. I'm also hoping to have possibly some guests come on from Canterbury Park to talk about their racing program. Anyway, I'm very excited to be the newest analyst for In the Money Media Podcast, and it'll be for their blog at Canterbury Park. So I'm very excited about that. Jim, thank you very much for the thank you back. So anyway, a lot of things going on, guys. Big changes with this with this podcast and this channel in terms of the technology. Matt Bernier of In the Money Media, NBC Sports. You know him, you love him. The plan, hopefully, is he will be here as my guest live next Thursday. And then I'm joining officially the In the Money Media team. Thank you very much to Peter Thomas Forntal, Jonathan Kitchen, and their crew for giving me this great opportunity to be writing on their blog starting May 18th for Canterbury Park. I'm very excited about that opportunity. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me go ahead and um, start talking about Belmont. Again, any comments you have, I greatly appreciate them. We're going to be focusing on the late pick 5 at Belmont. Hopefully, you have some nice money from Churchill last weekend. What an incredible weekend of racing it was. As you know, on this channel, we had some excellent hits, especially on Friday. Obligatory, woo! Anyone have obligatory out there? The trifecta. We also hit the pick 5 on this show. The pick 5 that I gave out the ABC for 3,300. I got a lot of great compliments and messages in my Gmail and on my Twitter about the picks we gave out over the weekend. So thank you very much for that. Last thing, I have a blog. You all should know about it by now, unless you're new to the show. I know we have a lot of new viewers. The HHH Race Day blog. This is free, folks. This is free. All you need to do is email me at hkravitzhorse@gmail.com. You can be placed on the list. Just type in your name and Race Day blog. Please subscribe. You must be a subscriber in order to receive the blog on my YouTube channel. Your email address is confidential. What I do on this blog is I will send it the morning of the races. So in this case, I'll be sending it Saturday morning for Belmont. I give you upgrades and downgrades after we see the scratches and changes. And then also I will include picks from earlier races on the card and possibly some spot plays from other places throughout the country. And the blog, especially this weekend, is going to be very important. There's a small chance of rain. I'm assuming everything's going to stay on the grass, of course. But, obviously you're going to want to check my blog out to see about any changes that occur. So please, if you have not signed up for that blog, please email me and let me know. The blog had several winners last weekend, $7 winners, $11 winners, $12 winners. That is only given out on my exclusive HHH Race Day blog. So we are going to go ahead now and jump into the races at Belmont. Belmont's got a fantastic day of racing this Saturday. They've got 5 stakes. 3 of them are in the late pick 5. We're going to talk first about the early stakes that are before the pick 5, and then we'll jump into the pick 5. Now, also on Belmont Day, and a few people have been asking about this also, every Saturday, NYRA has a live money contest. This Saturday is no different. It's $300. For a live money contest, that's pretty cheap. Most live money contests start at $500. $100 of those $300 goes in the prize pool, and the other $200 is for you to bet. Okay, it's completely up to you how you want to spend that $200. But the $100 of that will go in the contest. You can bet win, place, show, exacta, trifectas, and daily doubles. And this is, again, live money. This is not a pick and pray. This is real money that you're betting on, and you have a $200 bankroll, and the other $100 goes in the prize pool. I might dip in. Maybe we'll see some of the viewers out there, the HHH podcast. I've played it before. I've come in second. I've come in third in the NYRA contest. Check it out. Go on NYRA. If you want to play in the contest, by the way, the deadline is Friday, tomorrow, depending on when you watch this, but it's Friday, 5 o'clock Eastern. So you cannot sign up the day of the races on Saturday. If you want to join in on the live money contest at NYRA, and again, I'm most likely playing it because I'm going to be handicapping the whole card for this podcast. Again, it's a $300 buy-in, $200 live money, but you must buy in before 5 o'clock Eastern time on Friday, and then also you must have a NYRA bets account. I believe that's the only place you can bet the NYRA contest. You'd have to go to their website and check that out. Other people just checking in on the chat before we talk about the races. I see Paul is here. Paul Thank you very much. Yep, Paul, you were on the ground floor of HHH Mania. I appreciate that. Shake Up, thank you very much for my Oak State picks. I appreciate it. Hope you cashed. Again, a lot of people already on the live stream watching. I appreciate it. Let's get right into the races, folks. So we're going to start with the races that are not part of the pick five. And the first race we're going to talk about is race 6. And excuse me, they have 4 graded stake races. I think I said they have 5. They do have 5. Excuse me, they have 5 stake races, 4 of them graded. Let's talk about race 4 first. Race 4 is their first stakes race on the card. It's 6 furlongs. It's the Run Happy. It's a 4-year-olds and up. It is a grade 3. And I'm not going to go through the entire field, but there's 2 horses I think you have to use in this race. And really, I only have 2 that I would personally use in my pick 5 here. Excuse me, I'm just going to switch screens a second. Again, all this switching around I won't have to worry about hopefully soon. One of them is Chateau, morning line favorite. This is the speed of the speed. Chateau is very sharp right now for Carmouche, who is a great gate rider. It sure looks like on paper he's going to have a relatively easy lead. That's going to make him tough overall. He's a nice, classy gelding. You can see he's won almost $500,000, and he's as sharp as heck right now for Carmouche. However, as we get into these races now, into the late spring, early part of the summer, you're going to see some very good horses coming back. And one of those horses that is coming back is his main rival, Firenze Fire, 4-5 morning line for Kelly Breen. Give you a stat on Kelly Breen. Kelly Breen off of a 2 to 6 month layoff, 14%. Not great. Let me just repeat that for everyone. Kelly Breen off of a 2 to 6 month layoff. He's only 14% on the win end. However, this horse is extremely classy. IRAD jumps aboard. You see some bullet works in the holster. He's going to stalk and pounce if he's ready. Firenze Fire is going to be very tough. He's earned over $2.2 million. I see Jeff is on the show. Jeff, thanks very much for joining. He's talking about Churchill. So Jeff's going to be betting a little bit Churchill tonight. They do run on Thursday nights. I know everyone is laser focused on this podcast. Jeff, don't get people off this podcast. Okay, I hope you're doing a dual thing. Maybe you've got Churchill on your TV, perhaps, and you've got, of course, my podcast on your computer, iPad, whatever. But good luck to you, Jeff, if you're playing Churchill tonight. Anyway, these are the 2 main horses. There are, obviously, it's a pretty short field. You got Stan the Man, Town Classic, and Drafted. It's only a 5-horse field. All you need is 3-4 to the hoop, and you're good. The other stake race that I just want to briefly talk about, which is not part of the pick 5 sequence, is the grade 3 Bogey. It's on the inner turf. Of course, Belmont has 2 turf courses, their inner and their outside turf, which they call the Widener. They're going a mile 16th on the inner turf. This is a grade 3. Few things I want to mention here. My top horse in this race, the first one is going to be the 2. This is a new acquisition for Chad Brown. And I'll tell you what, when Chad Brown gains hold of a Euro, usually they're good. Not always, but usually. I have a feeling that Lamista, ladies and gentlemen, I'm assuming it's pronounced Lamista, could be something special. This is a 4-year-old filly who was 4-7 last year. By the way, the owner is Peter Brandt. Who's Peter Brandt? That is Chad Brown's one of his main clients. Of course, you know Sister Charlie and many other fantastic horses owned by Peter Brandt, trained for Chad Brown. I really think Lamista, if she's ready, could be very tough in this spot. Lamista's been in Chad Brown's barn for a while. She was working down at Payson with some bullets. Comes up here. It's not the most difficult spot. I got a feeling this horse is going to be ready to roll for Irad Ortiz. But that's not the only A I'm using. By the way, the 2 wants a little bit of cut in the ground. And I think you see she's run well on soft. She's run well on yielding. I also like the fact that she's gone left-handed. I know you might think it's a minor thing, But I do like when Chad Brown brings over these Euros and they've already gone left-hand turns. I think that does help a little bit. Everything to me says go for Lamista in the Bogey here on Saturday. That's not the only horse I'm using. I'm also going to use the 5 Civil Union. I'm not getting really tricky here in this race. I'm going with the 2 chalks. I loved Civil Union was fantastic last year for Shug. Ran big races, won the Glen Falls, won the Flower Bowl, ran extremely well in the Breeders' Cup, filling Mare Turf, just losing to Adira from Europe and Rushing Fall, and Harvey Lils Goyle is also in this race. Rosario's on board. If she's ready to run, I think she's also going to be tough. Those are my A's right there. As my B horses, I'm going to use Harvey's Lil Goyle, who's 8-5 morning line. There's no reason why she can't win. I don't trust Bill Mott off the layoff quite as much as the other ones. His stats aren't quite as good as some of the others, but obviously Harvey's Little Goyle could win this race. She's very good. She's a newly turned 4-year-old. Again, don't leave her off your ticket. And I'm also going to use the 3, Nay, Lady Nay, the other Chad Brown for Castellano, who again was right there in the Flower Bowl of Civil Union. Didn't break great in the Breeders' Cup, Philly and Mare Turf. I'm not sure she classes up to some of these others. I might downgrade Lady Nay to a seahorse. Right now I have her as a B, but again, this is not, I repeat, this is not part of the pick 5. So my top choices are 2, 5. I would definitely use the 1 for sure, and I might also use the 3. So those are the 2 races that are going to be involved before the pick 5. Now, let me talk a little bit about this pick 5 before we get into it. And again, if you're not familiar with the ABC method or you're not familiar with the show, I will show you 2 tickets at the end of my handicapping. I will show you my ABC ticket structure, and I will also show you my caveman ticket. Now, I do want to say something about this pick 5. And this pick 5, how do I say this? I would tread carefully. And it's probably the first thing that's probably the first time I've actually said that on this entire 3-month journey we've been together about a horizontal sequence. The reason I say tread lightly, I'm not saying don't play it. Listen, it's a great sequence. There's stake races. I'm playing it. Hopefully you're going to play it. Hopefully we're going to cash out big. The reason I say tread lightly, there are 2 maiden races, which I don't mind at all. I mean, I never mind maiden races. In fact, I like maiden races because I think that's where the smart money can win a lot of money if you watch replays and you understand connections and workouts and whatnot. But of course, maiden races, you get horses that are a bit inconsistent. Not only that, you have horses coming off of layoffs. You have horses coming from Europe. In some of the stake races, you have horses coming off of layoffs. It's just a little bit tricky. We can guess on who's going to be ready off the layoff. You can look at stats. You can look at workouts. But truly, you never really know for sure. So, do I feel good about this pick 5? Yes. I would not talk about this pick 5 if I didn't feel good about it. Have I felt better about other pick 5s we've talked about on this show? Yes. Again, there's a little bit of guesswork here with this pick 5 with some layoff horses, some horses coming from Europe, and 2 maiden races. So, again, depending on your budget, depending on your betting personality, maybe you want to bet a pick 3 off these races I'm going to talk about. Maybe you want to bet a pick 4. Again, there are a lot of different ways that you can go after we talk about the sequence. And also one more thing, I want to just quickly apologize. I'm broadcasting right now. It is 7:25 Central Standard Time. When I sent out the preview for the show, not the preview, but when I sent out the invitation, I put 8 o'clock on as a start time, and I think YouTube thought that was 8 o'clock Central. However, on Twitter, I sent out many invitations telling people that we're going to start at a regular time at 8 p.m. Eastern. I'm guessing some people might jump on to this live show at a little bit later at 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. If you're one of those people, I greatly apologize for that. That was completely my mistake. That will not happen again. So let's jump into the pick 5 sequence. The pick 5 on Saturday at Belmont starts in the grade 3 vagrancy. This is for older filly mares. They're going 6.5 furlongs. It's a pretty small field, as I will just quickly glance through. There's only a field of 7. And I have 1A horse in this race, 1A. And my 1A horse is the 5-2 Pacific Gale for John Kimmel and the jockey who had by far the best weekend last weekend of the entire 2 days at Churchill, Johnny Velasquez, who won the Oaks, he won the Derby, and now he's on Pacific Gale, who really, if you look at the PPs of Pacific Gale, really struggled last year towards the end of the year, and tailed off greatly, over September, October, and it looked as though maybe her career was on the ropes. But she went to Gulfstream, and she has completely reinvigorated herself. She won the Inside Info well at 16-1, 2 starts back. Then she won the Hurricane Birdie easily again, a grade 3 at Gulfstream. This is not a horse that needs Gulfstream. You can see her record there at Belmont. She's 7 out of 10 in the money at Belmont. She can run anywhere. This race fits her like a glove. There's not a ton of early speed in this race. I expect her to stalk just outside. She's been working well. I see no reason why she shouldn't win this race. Pacific Gale is my top choice. Puig, we see Puig, you are on the show. Thank you. Puig, am I ready for a Saratoga Spring Water sponsorship? Listen, I'll be happy to take any sponsorships. Puig, we'll have to talk about that. Thank you for that. So that's my lone A. I'm using On Her Way as a B in this race. On Her Way, if you look back, 2 starts back, beat Pacific Gale. 3 starts back, beat Pacific Gale. Now, Pacific Gale was not as good then as she is now. And I'm not going to show you the replay of the last race, but On Her Way in this last race in the distaff did not get off very well. She broke a little bit slow. She was 9-5 that day. She ran on just fine. I think she's better going a little bit shorter, but most importantly, I think she's going to be much better for Charlton Baker here off the layoff. She's got Jose Ortiz, who knows her best. If the pace heats up a little bit, On Her Way should be right there. I expect a much better effort from On Her Way as a B. And the other B I'm going to use is an Invader for Brad Cox. This horse was previously trained by Cipriano Contreras. Brad Cox now takes over for 10 Strike Racing there, which you folks might know from 10 Strike. I believe Marshall Graham, who is one of the owners of 10 Strike, who's been on the In the Money podcast, a friend of that show. This horse is very sharp. You can see 93 is now stepping up, but has been working very well at Churchill. This is a fresh face. She's already 6. I love the fact that she's got an outside post. Outside post, to me, sprinting at Belmont is definitely the place where you want to be. They can make that wide balcony style Belmont trip. Again, being wide at Belmont is not nearly a big deal as some other tracks. I'm not saying that she's going to be wide, but I love the post. This is an aggressive move by 10 Strike Racing. I'm using French Empire as a B. I have 2 C's in this race. I'm going to use the 1, Petey Bianchi, previously trained by Caceres. Now Carlos Martin takes over. By the way, Carlos Martin on the trainer switch is 12%, which is not great, not horrible. But Carlos Martin takes over, puts Manny Franco on. What I like about this horse is I like the fact that she's been working very well at Belmont. She's run at Belmont before. I'm not a huge fan, though, of the 1 hole in small fields. This is something I've talked about quite a bit, and I want to put myself on full screen. It's something I've noticed over the years. The inside post, the 1 hole in small fields, especially in sprints at Belmont, not the best place to be. They get sort of hemmed down there. Usually the paces are not lightning fast, and I've noticed that inside post sprinting at Belmont, small fields, is a negative for me I've seen a lot of favorites not do well down there, but Petey Bianchi, the one, is not going to be a favorite, and I think she's a bit interesting. So I'm going to use the one horse here as a C, and the other C that I'm going to use in this race is Victim of Love, who I could put a little bit higher. She certainly was very sharp last summer at Belmont and Saratoga. Here's what I don't like about this horse. This horse was off for a while at Laurel. So this horse was off 6 months. Did not run great at Laurel. Not bad. She was pinched at the start legitimately. But where's this horse been now? So she was off, 6 months or so. Now she's off again. What is this? March, April, another 2.5 months? I don't know. I like Todd Beatty. He's an excellent trainer. Underrated trainer if you don't know him. Runs a lot of horses out on the East Coast. I just don't like this progression where she hasn't run for 6.5 months and now she's not run again for 2.5 months. I don't know. I could go either way with Victim of Love. She has some back numbers. I'm going to use her as a C, just thinking there's other horses that I am more interested in here. All right, let's go on to leg two. Leg two is one of these main special weight races that I talked about that you really have to pay attention to. And there's a lot of things to look at. The one thing that I would do for sure, if you are playing this pick five, and I'm assuming a lot of people know this, but if you don't know this, this is a great handicapping, it's not a secret, but a great handicapping tip. Doesn't matter if it's a pick four or a pick five. If the second leg of your horizontal sequence has some first time starters, is a maiden race, etc., it behooves you. Great word. Love that word. It is very important. It is an excellent idea to take a look at the will pays going forward in the next race. So, for example, when you're looking at race 7, what you need to do is go to the will pays, look at the doubles, and see who's being bet in race 8, which is leg 2 of the pick 5. I'm not saying switch your ticket by any means, but many times, I would say 90% of the time, if the second leg has some maidens, I am absolutely looking at the will pays and looking at the doubles going forward to see who's being bet. And yes, it does influence my decision sometimes, especially when you have first-time starters. Is every first-time starter that takes money going to run or win? No, not necessarily. But what you do find, for example, if you see a horse that's like 12 to 1 morning line for like lower connections, I say lower meaning connections that are not as obvious, that are sort of not as well known, and you see them taking a lot of money in the double, look out. Comment on the right side of the chat if you're listening live. Is that something that you look at? Do you look at the will pay doubles going forward? Or comment below the video player, because I think that's an excellent handicapping tool. And I don't think enough people who play horizontal bets actually use that. Okay, I guess Victim of Love does not like, excuse me, C Money does not like Victim of Love. But he's a big fan of the Eagles band. Great band, by the way. Classic. Anyway, let's get back to the sequence. So please look at the doubles. Of course, we have no idea what that's going to look like. There's 2 horses I'm going to use here as A's in this mile 16th turf race. One of my A's is Chad Brown, Peter Brandt. And by the way, I do not use Chad Brown all the time. Chad Brown, we all know how good he is, but he is overbet. There's no question Chad Brown horses overbet. I've left Chad Brown horses off my ticket before, but it seems to me in this sequence they're very live. In Italian is a horse I'm going to use as one of my A's. Now, when you look at In Italian, you're going to see Tampa Bay. I want to make sure everyone who's listening to the show understands. You might be wondering, why didn't Chad Brown run this horse down at Gulfstream? Aren't his better horses at Gulfstream over the winter? That is a hard and fast no. Chad Brown has gone on the record quietly, but if you pay attention to racing down in Florida over the winter, Chad Brown prefers the racing strip, the turf at Tampa. And I love Gulfstream Park, but with all due respect to Gulfstream Park, Tampa Bay's turf course is just more consistent. Their growth there is better. frankly, Tampa is one of the best turf courses in the country. That's not really a knock on Gulfstream as much as a compliment to Tampa. So Chad Brown's best younger horses, especially his maidens, ran at Tampa this winter, not at Gulfstream. So the fact that this horse is coming from Tampa is not a negative. I'm not going to show you the replay. Feel free to watch it. He had a little bit of trouble. He lost to a very good first-time starter from the Clement barn. He only got a 65. I think she's going to improve greatly for IRAD. I expect in Italian to be very tough. And if you know any Italian, feel free to speak in Italian as the race goes on. The other horse I'm going to use in this race is the 8, Palamos, bred in Great Britain. This horse is by Arch out of in Costa del Lago, Australian uh, mare named Kushil. I probably completely butchered that. Anyway, European connections. This horse ran very well against counterparty risk last year at Aqueduct with an 80 buyer. That's the best buyer in this field. I like Grand Motion off the layoffs for Trevor McCarthy. This is a major player. Those are my 2As. You have to go deep here in your Bs. One of the horses I'm very interested in, and I have a little bit of inside information about this horse. I have a source that does very well with main races. The 1, Tatella. I don't think this horse is going to be 10 to 1. I have a feeling this horse is going to be lower. Junior Alvarado jumps on this horse for Brad Cox. This horse was a $200,000 buy. This horse is by More Than Ready out of a Not for Love mare, Project Rose. Notice the breeding, Windstar Farm. The horse, you don't see any turf works, but the horse has been working very well. In fact, if I show all the works, you can see this horse has been working all the way back since last summer. So this horse was working since last summer. Took a little bit of break there. You see from June 25th, perhaps there's a minor issue. They rested her up all the way until the winter there at Payson. There we go. Sorry, I want to hide the works. Excuse me. All right. So this horse has been working steadily already since Payson. She's bred very well. I have a feeling this horse can be alive. She's a B for me. Another B I'm using is the other Chad Brown, the 7, Infinite Potential. First time starter by Invincible Spirit out of a Smart Strike Mirror Darcina. Again, this is for Klarovich Stables. Works, not quite impressive. I think the other Chad Brown is better, but it's hard to leave this horse out. And then my other B horse, and this is my sort of interesting horse here in the race, is going to be the 10, Bonkers. And if you like Bonkers and he wins at a price, we're all going to go Bonkers. Why do I like Bonkers? First of all, there's not a lot of speed in this race. She has an 88 early time form U.S. pace figure. I have a feeling Lascano is going to be aggressive. Jose Lascano, by the way, has been excellent. He was injured. He's come back. He's already won at some prices at Belmont already. I have a feeling this horse is going to be on the lead, and this is a new horse for, there you go, Michael Maker. Now, there's absolutely nothing wrong, nothing wrong at all with Arnaud Delacour. He's an excellent trainer. But anytime Michael Maker takes over for a horse, you have to pay attention. I think this horse is going to improve. He's been working well at Belmont. And of course, one of the other aspects I like about this horse is I think she might be lone speed. Look out for bonkers, at a price. I'm spreading in this race. Traffic Song. Traffic Song has a good buyer. It says steady twice in the short comments, folks. I do not think it was that bad a trip. The first steady was towards the beginning of the race. The second steady, I didn't think was much. I have a feeling Traffic Song is going to be overbet. She was 25 to 1. Can she win? Maybe. But I don't like Traffic Song as much as I think some other people's will. I'm going to use Colombo de Oro for Shug as a C. Out of respect to Shug and Jose Ortiz, and the purchase price was $500,000. But I'm really not sure what to make, frankly, of this horse, but I'm going to use her as a C. And I'm also going to use Flaming Rogue as a C. And I want to talk about this horse for just a little bit. Rosario and Clement are a fantastic combination. Fantastic. Here's the and this horse costs 650,000. But I have a little bit of an issue with this 9. I have a feeling this 9 is going to be bet. You're going to see Clement, you see Rosario, you see European form. She's going to probably take some money. But here's the thing, few things. First of all, she's already a 4-year-old, and I want to talk about this for a second. Here's another handicapping tip from me to you. Hopefully, well, you may agree, you may not agree, and that's okay. This is one of those races where you have 3-year-olds up against 4-year-olds, right? Now, I think the snap decision or the snap thought might be, well, you got to like the 4-year-olds better, right? Because they're older, more mature, etc. There's two things that I do not like in this situation about 4-year-olds. First of all, I do like 4-year-olds versus 3-year-olds early in the year. So you're talking about January, February, March, even maybe into April. You're talking about newly turned 3-year-olds going up against 4-year-olds. In general, it's not a hard and fast rule. But in general, I like 4-year-olds more in that spot. Once you start turning into the summer here, late spring, May, June, July, if you're a 4-year-old and you've not broke your maiden yet, and it's already into May, June, July, and you're going up against 3-year-olds who are now getting bigger, stronger, more mature, I'm always going to lean to the 3-year-olds. That does not mean in every situation I'm going to bet the 4-year-old over the 3-year-old, but it's worth watching. It bears watching for you. If that's an angle that you have not really studied, take a look at it. I don't have hard and fast stats on it, but I know I've read many handicapping books, and it's talked about once you get into the middle of their 4-year-old season, if they're really good, they already would have broken their maiden already. And not only that, in this race, there's a huge weight break for 3-year-olds. Let's jump to that. So you can see, and I'm not always a big weight guy, but Flaming Rogue is carrying 125, as are all the 4-year-olds, while you see a horse like In Italian is only carrying 118. 7 pounds, that's a lot to me. Again, I'm not a big weight guy, and let me just talk about weight for a second also. I think it's worth talking about. So there has always been different opinions on weight breaks, all right? Let me explain to you very simply. Since I'm a math teacher, I think this is worth talking about. Let's talk about a 5-pound difference. 5 pounds. Most thoroughbreds weigh around 1,000 pounds, all right? So if one horse weighs 5 pounds more than the other, that is 0.5%. Right? If they weigh 1,000 pounds, 10% is 100, right? 1% is 10 pounds. 5 pounds is going to be 0.5%. So we're talking about a 0.5%. If you are running a race, and let's say you weigh 200 pounds, let's take a human that weighs 200 pounds, okay? 0.5%, 1 pound. 1 pound. Now, yes, maybe you want to say it's a bad comparison. You can't compare humans running around a track compared to horses. Okay. But I think it's an interesting thing to think about. If you were carrying only 1 extra pound, 1 pound, you just had 1 pound of whatever in your pocket, 1 pound, that's barely nothing. Would that slow you down? I don't know. I just want to bring that up. So if it's more than 5 pounds, though, to me, it matters a little bit. And in the Apple Blossom, when it was Latruska versus Monomer Girl, Latruska had, I believe, don't quote me on this, I think a 5-pound weight break. And some people said, could that make a difference? I suppose. I mean, if it's like a head bob or something, maybe a neck. I don't know. I've never been a huge weight guy, but when it's more than 5-pound difference, to me, I think that matters. Again, comment in the chat on the right side. Comment below the video player. Do you ever take weight into account? Now, when you have an apprentice and you get apprentice rides like 112, 113 versus 125, that absolutely could make a difference. But in this race, you've got a 7-pound weight difference. I just thought it was worth talking about that. Again, please comment there on the chat. Richard's joined the show. Thank you. Richard mentioned that the 10 is also a 4-year-old maiden, like the 9. That's a good point. And then Puig brings up the jockey musical chairs. Puig, your point is taken. He said Irad is riding for someone else. I generally speaking, I totally agree. You see, Irad was on the 10, and now Irad goes to someone else. But I still think Bonkers is a little bit interesting. Anyway, back to the 9. The 9 is carrying 125. Was very slow. These are slow time form ratings. Also looks like the 9 wants to go further. She was running mile and 3/8, mile and 5/16. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and move on with the show. I don't love the 9 here at all, even though the connections are fantastic. I'm going to use the 9 as a C. So I'm tentatively using 8 horses. Again, I'm using 8 horses in this race, but I'm obviously weighing them with my ABC ticket. Let's go on to leg 3 of the pick 5. Leg 3 is for 3-year-olds. It is the grade 3 Peter Pan. They're going 1.125 miles on the dirt. This is a traditional preview, a traditional race that leads in to the Belmont Stakes. You often will see the winner of this race, or you will see some horses that will go from here into the Belmont, which is, of course, doing the math, 4 weeks from now. This is a small field, but this is an interesting field. And remember, at Belmont, they are going one turn. One turn. Paul makes a point there that only 1.125 miles or longer with the weight situation. C Money mentioned on the chat that Whitmore carried 5 more pounds than the field on Saturday, hit an invisible wall. You know, C Money, that's very interesting. I don't believe it was the weight. I personally think Whitmore is much better going 6. But that is an interesting point, and your point is taken. I think it was more the distance than the weight. But boy, did Whitmore hang. Whoa. If you liked Whitmore last weekend, whew, that was listen, I love Whitmore, by the way. I think he's a fantastic horse. Just a warrior. He's won over 4 million, but he did hang last Saturday. Back to the Peter Pan. Let's look at the field. You have Overtook for Pletcher and Velasquez, 6-1 morning line. Nova Rad's a horse that you folks should know if you pay attention to the winter Florida Derby prep situation. Bill Mott, Junior Alvarado, 5-2 morning line. Promise Keeper, 7-2 morning line. He's the other Pletcher for Louis Saez. You've got Wolfie's Dynaghost, who made a huge splash. I actually bet that I bet that day. I did not have Wolfie's Dynaghost that day. For Tom Albatrini, who does not win often with his first-time starters, this horse went off at almost 34-1, and beat a good field very handily. I Am the Law for John Terranova and Carmouche, 30-1. And then Risk Taking. He was the favorite in the Wood and was absolutely horrible in that race. Chad Brown has this horse back for Irad Ortiz. Now, before I go through this race, I do want to, and I meant to do this earlier in the show, I do want to talk about the Preakness a little bit. And this is a perfect time to talk about the Preakness because of what might happen here. So, very briefly, let me talk about the Preakness. So, right now, the Preakness is a 9-horse field. And I bring it up now because the Peter Pan is for restricted 3-year-olds, and it might have an effect on what's happening going forward. So, as of right now, you've got, these are pretty much confirmed. You got Concert Tour for Baffert, and then, of course, Medina Spirit also for Baffert. Running in the Preakness, which is going to cause a very interesting pace scenario. We'll talk a lot more about the Preakness, of course, next week, hopefully with Matt Bernier. You got Midnight Bourbon, Ron Bauer, Crowded Trade, Keep Me in Mind, Francisco de Ina, a horse that was coming from Dubai, I believe. Unbridled Honor, Ram, who just broke his maiden last weekend at Churchill, and then possibly, and this is why I wanted to show you the screen, possibly Risk Taking. As of this broadcast here on Thursday night, I believe Risk Taking is still planning on going to the Peter Pan in Belmont on Saturday. However, Pletcher said he might end up going to the Preakness. So we're going to have to see what happens. And then waiting in the weeds at the Belmont. Essential Quality is going to wait and go to the Belmont. Rock Your World is a strong possibility for the Belmont. And I'm just going to say on the record, if Rock Your World goes to the Belmont, I think he's got a big chance. I don't think distance will be an issue at all for that horse. Hot Rod Charlie, who was the horse I liked in the Derby, finished third, is waiting for the Belmont. Weyburn also is planning going to the Belmont. He ran in the Gotham, ran in the Wood. I would assume the winner of this race on Saturday from the Peter Pan is going to go to the Belmont. And then if Medina Spirit wins the Preakness, I would have to assume he's going to go to the Belmont and try to win the Triple Crown. My guess, and this is a complete guess on my part, that is if Medina Spirit does not win the Preakness, I would assume that he would not go to the Belmont. That is purely speculation on my part. But anyway, risk taking is still planning on going to the Peter Pan here on Saturday. I have two A's in this race. One of my A's is Promise Keeper. Now, I want to show the last replay a little bit of Promise Keeper. First of all, Promise Keeper doesn't mind a little bit wet. You see 2 starts back, he won by 5 lengths in the slop at Gulfstream. So I don't think he's going to mind if it gets a little wet. And it might be wet on Saturday. We'll see. He was bet down to 4-1 in the Tampa Bay Derby, and that trip did not work. He didn't get off great. He rushed up. He was in between into a fast pace. Then he steadied. It's a complete toss out. That was a very tough race. But I want to show you the maiden breaker here not the maiden breaker, but an allowance win here by Promise Keeper here at Keeneland. He was the one horse. This horse prefers to have speed. He didn't break great. You can see the one right there broke about 2 lengths slow. But the reason why I want to watch this race is this is probably the first time he was in behind taking dirt. Was this the strongest field? No. But I love the fact that he took some dirt. He was in behind horses. And you see the jock is going to angle him out here to the outside eventually. I'm just going to go ahead and fast forward here. He's up. He's on the inside. He's got a ton of horse right now. Again, eating a lot of dirt. He angles to the outside and absolutely explodes. I'll just go ahead and watch. He'll just watch the end of the race. Gets to the outside. Again, was this the strongest field? No. But I really like how he did it. Very professional in the stretch. He goes on to win this race by 5 lengths. You can see he's got a very nice long stride. I don't think distance is a problem at all for this horse. And again, this is the first time that he won coming from behind. So I do like that a lot. I like when a horse does something for the first time and improves off of that. There's his effort. Again, I like he beat Warrior in Chief, who came back and won. Anyway, I just like the fact that he had a little trouble. Promise Keeper should be either on the lead or just off it. I think everything works well for this horse. I love Saez. There's not a lot of speed in this race. Promise Keeper is an A for me. The other horse that's going to be an A, of course, if he goes, is Risk Taking. Folks, I don't know what happened last time. Maybe it was the track. The track was really slow that day. I love what Risk Taking did in the Withers. I thought he was fantastic, 2 back. He likes the distance. He's been working well. My only concern, and literally my only concern for Risk Taking in this race on Saturday, is there's not a lot of speed, and this horse does like to come from behind. He's not a dead closer, but again, this race looks like it might set up for someone up close. That's a bit of a concern for me, but I'm using Risk Taking as an A. Other horses I'm using as a B. I'm going to use Overtook as a B. Todd Pletcher is quoted as saying that Overtook wants to run all day. This horse to me is a bit of a plotter. He costs $1 million. He's got talent. If he runs well here, I'm almost positive they would run him in the Belmont. I think the Belmont's going to suit this horse better. Of course, it's going to be better horses. He's going to have to improve. I like Overtook. I dislike Todd Pletcher's Promise Keeper, the 3, a little better. But obviously, Overtook can win the race. The other B I like is here is Nova Rags. I know some people like this horse as an A. I thought he was disappointing his last 2. The Sam F. Davis really had no real excuses. And then he faced Known Agenda and Soup and Sandwich and Greatest Honor in the Florida Derby. He had the one hole. I'm not sure that worked out well for him, but really he got a pretty good trip and just didn't fire. I think this horse is a bit overrated. If he gets the lead, I think Promise Keeper is going to be sitting right outside of him. And I like Promise Keeper better in this race, but certainly Nova Rags is a horse um, that I think most people are going to use. I'm using Nova Rags, though, only as a B horse in this race. I'm going to use Wolfie's Dynaghost as a C. I just do not like the fact that he's been off this long. You would have thought that Albatrani was going to put this horse on the Triple Crown Trail or on at least the Derby Trail. Um, so I don't really know. I have not heard about any issues that he had. I'll have to read more into that, but I researched and couldn't really find anything about any injury or foot issue. I just don't like. This is a very tough spot. I mean, he broke his maiden going 7, impressively, right? And now he comes back in the Peter Pan off the layoff, a mile and eighth against some pretty decent horses. This is a tough spot to come back. If Wolfie's Dynaghost wins this race, I would be very, very impressed. And I would assume that he'd go on to the Belmont then. I'm against in this spot, but I do like Wolfie's Dynaghost a lot going forward. And yes, C Money, good point. He did beat Weyburn on his debut. And that was actually a good field. Let me show you that field. Wolfie's Dynaghost. You can see he lost to Weyburn, who's going on to good things. Lost to Kid Cash, who, struggled. Unbridled Honor is a horse for Todd Pletcher that is running in the Preakness on a week from Saturday. So he beat Unbridled Honor in that maiden race. So again, he beat some nice horses in that maiden race. Again, I just don't like the fact that he's been off this long. Where has this horse been? Maybe Wolfie's Dynaghost is going to prove me wrong on Saturday, but I'm not going to be using him too strongly. I'm just going looking at the chat. I don't see too many questions right now in the chat, so I think we'll just go ahead and keep moving along. Let's go on to race 10. Now, actually, I want to talk about one more thing. I apologize. I'm just looking at my own notes. So in this race, Junior Alvarado is on the 2 instead of Wolfie's Dynaghost. Again, jockey musical chairs is a real risky thing. I'm not really saying that's a good or bad thing. I just want to point out that Wolfie's Dynaghost, when he broke his maiden, he did have Junior Alvarado, and now Junior goes to Nova Rags. However, Junior Alvarado is first call for Bill Mott. So maybe there's really not much to that. I just felt the need to point it out. And of course, there's absolutely nothing wrong with Jose Ortiz on the 4. I'm guessing that Alvarado's first call from Mott, so he was just going to ride Nova Rags, and Albatrani was looking for the next best jockey not being used in this race, so he goes to Jose Ortiz. I wouldn't say that's exactly a consolation prize. All right, the Man of War. Mile and 3/8 on the inner. This is a grade 1, $700,000. This is for older males. This is a field of 8. Now, it's very important to point this out that in this race, hold on one second, please. So, this is the first grade 1 of the year, in my opinion, that's really strong going this distance. I'm sorry, I didn't look back. The Pan American at Gulfstream, their main 3-turn distance race, I think is a grade 2. And I apologize for not knowing that off the top of my head. So they had the Pegasus Turf Invitational that was run there on Pegasus World Cup Day, won by Colonel Liam. But that was only a 2-turn mile and 3/16, I'd like to say. But this race on Saturday, the Man of War, is really the first major North American distance turf race. And the reason I bring it up is because there is a very good Euro in this race, and you're going to start seeing the best distance turf horses, at least in my opinion, starting to come back from their winter respites going into races coming up. And this is one of them, the Man of War. From the rail out, 8-5 morning line favorite, Sovereign for Michael Tabor, Irad Ortiz, new acquisition from Chad Brown off of Aiden O'Brien, winner of $1.15 million. He is the favorite from the rail. He has not run, though, since November of last year. You got Moon Over Miami, a horse that a lot of people liked in the Pan American, including me. He ran very well, just to miss against Churn and Burn. There it is. The Pan American is a grade 2. I should have done my homework. I was right. It's a grade 2. 8-1. Zayad for Graham Motion, 6-1. Manny Franco on board. So High, 50-1 for Chatterpole and Eric Cancel. Perhaps I'm just gonna move on. I was gonna make a joke about the name. Maybe we should just move on. We'll keep it a family show. That wouldn't relate to me, by the way, but maybe this name of this horse might relate to some of your viewers out there at some point, but doesn't relate to me, just for the record. All right. I'm going to get myself in trouble. Channel Cat for Jack Sisterson and Calumet Farms, 10-1 morning line. You've got Sham Rocket, Todd Pletcher, 15-1, Castellano, and Field Pass, 6-1, Size and Maker. Gufo, who won $450,000 last year for Christopher Clement, off the layoff. Joel Rosario, winner of the Grade 1 Belmont Derby on this surface last year in October. I have a pretty strong opinion in this race. And my strong opinion in this race is that I think you only need 2. You only need 2. Paul, thanks for reminding me about Churn and Burn. Appreciate it. I know, Churn and Burn beat me and you and probably a bunch of other people out of the pick 5 when he ran at Gulfstream. I only need 2 horses really in this race, and one is Sovereign. Let's talk about Sovereign for just a little bit. This is a 5-year-old by Galileo. I have a Danehill Dancer mare devoted to you. This horse is regally bred. He has been running, as you can see, grade 3, grade 2, grade 1, grade 1, grade 1, grade 2. And folks, again, European group 1s, excuse me. I should say group 1. Group 1, group 2s. Folks, horses that have been running in group 1s, group 2s in Europe, these are just better horses than the ones that are running here in grade 1, grade 2 races in the United States. It's just been proven over time. The Euros are better. The Americans have caught up on the turf, though. I will say that. The American turf racing has gotten much better in the last 5-6 years, I would say. Maybe even back to 10 years. So, obviously, these American turf horses are better than they used to be. But look who this horse raced against. I mean, was in the Investec Derby at Epsom last year against Anthony Van Dyke, ran against Broome, ran against Enable in the Queen Elizabeth Stakes there at Royal Ascot last summer. Was racing against Enable and Japan. Again, this horse ran a 2-mile race on British Champions Day at Ascot. So this horse has a lot of back class. Now, he did tail off a little bit towards the end of his year. But again, you see these time form ratings. In general, you can subtract, about 18 to 20 points in general from their time form range of the buyer. So I think this horse has been running, close to 100 buyers consistently. That puts this horse very much in the game. I think he's going to run better even on Saturday. Now, he can handle the distance. He doesn't mind if it's a little bit wet. Chad Brown said this horse has got some early speed. You can see early to lead, keen. Now, a horse that's got early speed from Europe is not the same as a horse that has early speed here in the States, but he's got the rail. I have a feeling there's not a lot of speed in this race. I have a feeling Sovereign is going and will either be on the lead or sit right off it with a great trip. The other thing I want to mention, And this is why I brought up weight. Ladies and gentlemen, Sovereign is only carrying 118 pounds in this race. Now 118 is, for a US horse is pretty normal. Look at the weight Sovereign's been carrying. 131, 129. There's 126, 133, 137, 133 on a soft turf. 118 is going to feel like he's carrying a feather. To me, that does play into my handicapping. I know he's 8-5. Howard, why do you keep going on and on? Because there's other horses in this race that are interesting, but I think Sovereign, I might put him as my lone A. I like this horse a lot. I'm assuming Chad Brown is going to have this horse ready. There's my take on Sovereign. The other horse that I think you only need in this race, and I'm not getting cute here, is the other morning line lower price horse, and that's Gufo for Christopher Clement and Joel Rosario. A newly turned 4-year-old, had a big year last year, was right there against domestic spending in the Hollywood Derby last time, just missed. 3 back, lost to domestic spending again in the Saratoga Derby by a head. And again, domestic spending. Why does that name sound familiar? Oh, yeah. That's the horse that dead heated last weekend in the $1 million turf race against Colonel Liam. So, again, it's not always fair to go apples to apples. If Clement has his horse ready, and you have to assume that he does, he's been working steadily down at Payson in Florida, including some bullets. I think he's going to have this horse ready. My concern about Gufo, though, is there's not a lot of speed in this race. So I think that is something that needs to be taken into consideration. But this is a very good horse. He's the best American in this field, I believe. In my opinion, you really only need 2 in this race. I am going to use some seahorses as insanity insurance. One of the seahorses I'm going to use is Zayad, who ran well in grade 3s last year in the Sycamore and the Red Smith, but just barely losing to Red Knight and North Dakota, to me, does not put you in the same class as Sovereign and Gufo. So I'm using this horse as a C, but again, I respect Graham Motion, and this horse gets the distance without a problem. Another C I'm going to use is Channel Cat. I was thinking about using Channel Cat a little more because this horse has run big races, but I've spent a lot of money on Channel Cat, and I've sent my divorce papers on him. Watch now, he's going to win by 3 lengths Saturday. He's almost won $1 million. He ran well in the Elkhorn last time at Keeneland, just losing to Say the Word. If Channel Cat's rounding back into form, he's dangerous. This is just a horse that I do not trust. The other thing, he's 0 for 5 at Belmont, but I went back and looked at his Belmont races. He's run well at Belmont. Do not get carried away with that 0 for 5 record. Do not be steered away off of Channel Cat if you like him on Saturday because he's 0 for 5 at Belmont. I just think maybe his best days are behind him, but I'm using him as insanity insurance. And the other horse I'm going to use here is Field Pass. Again, there's Michael Maker. This horse is honest. He's a nice horse. I don't think he classes up here. He did run very well last time, though, in a good field in the Maker's Mark Mile. And Michael Maker is so good, so good at stretching out horses. So again, if he thinks he can get the distance and now he's going to stretch him out, second off the layoff as a newly turned 4-year-old, it would not shock me if Field Pass runs a huge race. But again, I'm only going to use him defensively as a C. I think this race goes through Sovereign and Gufo mainly. I'm leaning heavily on those 2 horses, for better or for worse, in the Man of War. I realize those are the 2 favorites, but I have some interesting horses as longer shots in some other places. And that leads us to the last race of the sequence, which is a split division of race 8. This is another main special weight race. They're on the turf again for fillies and mares. Again, this is 3 or 4-year-olds. So pay attention to that. These are 3 or 4-year-olds. C Money mentioned Moon over Miami, who I did not talk about in the Man of War. Look, he's improving. He's getting better. But C Money, this is a monster step up in class for Moon over Miami. I'll go back to Moon over Miami out of respect to your comment, C Money. Let me show you Moon over Miami. Again, this is just a huge step up in class. Yes, he's getting better. I just don't think he's going to beat this field. I'm not using him. Maybe that horse will prove me wrong. Again, let's go to the last race here. I'm using one horse as an A. Only one horse, and it's Rastafara. So, Rastafara, I'm assuming that's how you pronounce that. Again, this is another Peter Brandt, Chad Brown horse. He's got a lot of these horses coming back on Saturday, and he's pointing to these spots. I think this horse is live. A very similar profile to in Italian, right? Raced at Tampa, was bet, ran well, just missed. They rested this horse. She's coming back now. She was 3 wide, by the way, the entire race. I watched that replay. We're not going to watch it here, but she was 3 wide the entire race. A lot of the Chad Browns are trained to be covered up and then explode late. She did run well, but she wasn't really covered up. I expect Irad to cover this horse up, make a huge run. There's a bunch of horses here that are, to me, I don't love. Rastafara probably will be favored, but she's my lone A in the last race of the day. Actually, I am going to show you the replay, just looking through my notes. Sorry. Let's just look at the start real quick of Rastafara. Rastafara, here, is the 8 horse in this race. And when you watch Rastafara right here, she breaks well, which I like. But you see that she's going to be a little bit, you see she's a little bit rank. She wants to go. She's got sort of a high head carriage. She's got a nice stride. You see right there, she's a little bit rank. She's pulling, so she wants to go. And the rider cannot tuck in the 8. This is not the kind of trip you want, really, for a first-time starter. She also gets pushed to the outside a little bit here. She's like in the 4 path. Again, it's not a bad trip, but you really don't want to be 3 wide, uncovered in your first race. And we'll just go and watch the finish of this race. She now takes the lead right here, and she's still in hand. The horse that beats her is another first-time starter of a nice barn. She runs very well. She just can't quite finish the job. Again, this is Rastafara. She gets run down by another nice first-time starter, and she was wide every step of the way. She seems professional to me. I think she's going to be tough to beat. As you see, she just missed there in the race at Tampa. The other horses I'm using as B horses. I'm going to use Miss Bonnie T as a B horse for David Donk, who is very consistent. I don't like the fact, though, she's gone up at fairly high odds. However, in this field, she certainly fits. I'm using Miss Bonnie T as a B horse. I'm also going to use Gabby Squared, who's coming out of the Miss Bonnie T race, as a B horse as well for Castellano. This is the other Chad Brown. And I'm going to use the 9 third draft also as a B horse for Shug. I don't love the fact this horse is 0 for 4. I know it's only 4 starts, but I watched the replay of the Keeneland race. We're not going to watch it. Folks, let me just tell you that I thought third draft hung a little bit. Feel free to watch the Keeneland replay. I don't want to show the replay. I want to go a little shorter tonight and with this podcast. But watch the replay of third draft's last race. I thought she hung a little bit in the stretch. She saved all the ground, and then she was a little bit wide on the final turn. But I thought she should have got the job done, and she did not. Can third draft win? Of course. But I sort of like the upside of Rastafara better. I'm using third draft as a B in this race. So there's my handicapping of the pick 5. Let's jump into my tickets here. Again, I'm going to show you my my ABC pick 5, and then I will show you my caveman pick 5. So there's my ABC pick 5. Want to make it a little bit tighter. $136. I'll talk about that press up there in just a minute. You can see my lone A's in this sequence are the 6 in the first leg. That is Pacific Gale. And my other lone A is Rastafara in the last race. So my strongest opinions in this sequence are Pacific Gale in the first leg and Rastafara in the last leg. Again, as I mentioned at the beginning of this show, this is not my strongest opinions in this sequence. I found the sequence to be, again, these field sizes aren't big, but I found this um, sequence in general to be a bit unpredictable and not easy. You can see the rest of the ticket there. What's the deal with the press ups? If you want to spend more, that press up is if I use my A's for $2 and my A1B for $1. Everyone should know what that means, especially if you've watched the ABC ticket video. Please do watch that. Again, the 178 is if I play the A's for $2 and the A1B sequence for $1. Obviously, you don't have to press up. Obviously, you don't have to play this expensive a ticket. You can take some horses off. You can move A's to B's. You can move B's to C's. Whatever is your fancy, whatever your choices are, that is my ABC ticket for Saturday. In terms of my caveman ticket, I have 2 caveman tickets for $120 total. You see the first ticket there. I'm very spread in the second race, and I'm just taking a stand with this sequence with Rastafara in the last race. It's a bit risky to single a maiden. I just have a gut feeling this horse is going to run a big race based on what he did, based on what she did in Tampa. And frankly, I'm not enamored with the field in the last race. I think the second leg of maidens is a stronger field than the last leg of maidens. Therefore, on my main ticket, I am singling Rastafara. However, look carefully. I am backing up. So again, the number 2 caveman ticket, which is a $24 ticket, I'm only playing Pacific Gale in the first race. I'm only going 2 deep in the second. I'm going 4 deep in the third leg. Again, I'm going only 2 deep in the fourth. However, if I'm lucky and I'm correct in the first 4 legs, I will have my B horses from my ABC ticket into my caveman ticket. So I also have 169 in the last leg of my caveman ticket. So if you prefer a caveman ticket, that's how it would go. Also notice I only have 1/8. I only have Sovereign and Gufo on both tickets in the Man of War. So generally speaking, if Sovereign or Gufo do not win the Man of War, I'm probably going to I might need a little bit of luck in my pick 5. Obviously, I'll still be able to hit it no matter if I play a caveman or if I play an ABC. And your tickets might be totally different, and maybe you completely disagree with me, and that's absolutely fine. But for me, I think I'm going to hang my hat on those 2. I feel pretty strongly that those are the 2 classiest horses in that race in Man of War. I'd love to find some sneaky horse. I guess Channel Cat at 10-1 would be the one horse at a price that I'd be interested in that race. But I have a feeling that either Sovereign or Gufo are going to get the job done on Saturday in the Man of War. Ladies and gentlemen, like I said, I wanted to go a little bit shorter with my podcast videos. I went very long last week, but I felt like I needed to because it was Derby week. So I wanted to try to cut these videos a little bit more we're now at approximately, we're in 20 minutes. To me, that's a perfect length. If you have any questions right now, if you're live on the chat, if you have any questions at all, now is the time to ask because we're going to end this live stream very soon. Again, if you joined me tonight live, thank you very much. And if you joined me late, I have, again, 3 really, really big pieces of news that I'm just going to quickly recap while people are sending in questions in the chat. Number 1, the graphics. I'm using new software. Hopefully, starting next week, you're going to see new graphics. You're going to see a little more of a professional look. I'm going to have like a picture-in-picture because we're going to start adding guests on this show. So cross our fingers that you're going to see a brand new software that I'm going to be using next week. Also, Matt Bernier. The hope is that Matt Bernier will come live, not in the chat, live next to me on the show. We'll chop it up with Matt. We'll ask him some questions about horse racing. We'll talk about all the endeavors he's involved in. So my very first live guest um, on the show, I did have Jerry Richmond on the show about a month and a half ago. He's a good friend of mine, did some handicapping. But in terms of known national personalities, Matt Bernier hopefully will be coming on the show next Thursday. And also, I'm going to be working for the In the Money media team. I'm going to be writing a blog for Canterbury Park starting May 18th. So if you are follow In the Money Media and you follow their blog that they have on the internet, you will see my name and my selections and analysis for Canterbury Park just outside of Minneapolis. Fantastic racetrack. They've a industry low 10% takeout in their pick 5, and they have very good racing. It's underrated, turf and dirt. So I'm officially working for In the Money Media starting on May 18th. Just looking at some people on the chat. Richard, thanks for joining. Richard likes a Stidham horse. I'm not sure which race that's in, but he's the 5 horse. Let's see. Brian, thank you very much for coming on the show. Did you not want to include the 2 in the second caveman ticket, or did you forget? Great question, Brian. Thank you very much for asking that question. Brian's asking about my second caveman ticket. Let me transition back to that. So, Brian, I did not make a mistake. The answer to your question is I don't need the 2 on that ticket. Because if you look carefully at the ticket, if the 6 wins the first leg, look at ticket number 2, Brian, and all viewers. If the 6 wins the first race, 5-8 wins the second race, 1, 2, 3, 6 wins the third leg, 1 or 8 wins the fourth leg, I already have the 2. I have the 2 on the main ticket, Brian. So I don't need to hit the 2 again in the bottom ticket. This is what a backup ticket's about. The second ticket is strictly a backup, Brian, to the first ticket. So no, I did not make a mistake. I did that on purpose. That is how you bet a backup ticket, Brian. You don't need the 2. Now, if you want to put the 2 in the second ticket, Brian, you absolutely can, and you can try to hit it twice. But that's not my goal of this Caveman Pick 5 tickets. I'm just backing up my strong opinion of the 2 in the last race. So I hope that makes sense, Brian. I don't need the 2 on the second ticket. If you want to put the 2 in, you certainly can. Tom, thank you very much. Tom, how'd you do on the handicapping today? If you want to comment in, Tom, or you don't have to. I saw Tom was on the Horse Players Happy Hour contest, or at least he was chatting in the live stream this afternoon. Tom, I don't know if you played in the contest. I'm assuming you did. I could not play it today. I was busy with work and school. So maybe Tom will chat in. But I don't think there's any other questions right now. We covered everything we needed to. Again, this channel is absolutely blown up. I can't thank everyone enough. I have almost 10,000. Ladies and gentlemen, we're almost getting close to 10,000 total views on this live stream. I had over, I believe, 3,000 or 2,500 views just last week. I have well over now 200 subscribers. Please make sure you hit that subscribe button on the right-hand part of the screen and then hit the notification bell. Again, also, if you are interested in my blog, last thing, here's my race day blog. There's all the information. Please make sure you join my race day blog and email me so you can get some live picks about the race day blog. Good luck to everyone on Saturday at Belmont Park. Maybe you're playing the contest also. Good luck in the late pick 5 and all the stake races. This has been your host, Howard Kravitz, for Howard's Horse Handicapping. Thank you very much, everyone, and good night.